Hello everyone, Cosmological here. First of all, a big congratulations and thank you to Professor Stick. He recently hit 100,000 subscribers and gave me a shoutout, sending literally hundreds of new viewers my way. So thank you, and congrats man, you totally deserve it. To those of you who are new here, welcome. Also, if you're wondering why I look different than normal, it's because I got this excellent fan art from Cyborg Hero on Twitter. Anyway, I'm pretty sure every atheist YouTuber has to do one of these at some point, so here's 11 questions atheists can't answer. Answered.
Hello, you've reached ChristianApologist.com, and I'm S.J. Thomason, and today I'm going to present to you 11 questions that atheists cannot answer. The first question: how do you explain why the early Christian martyrs preached for decades, saying they saw the risen Christ?
The sources for the martyrdom of these people are pretty unreliable. These claims seem to come from the New Testament Apocrypha very often. It's like the old line about picking and choosing. If you're going to believe information from apocryphal sources about one thing, why not about other topics? Anyway, the argument goes that they were so certain of the truth of their religion that they refused to deny it and went to their deaths defending it. But even if they were martyred, who's to say they would have been spared for recanting? And besides, just because they died due to their belief in something does not mean that belief is true. This question fails on several levels.
2. How do you explain the rise of Christianity to between 5 and 6 million by 313 when it was finally legalized from such humble roots?
Religions grow. How do you explain the rise of Islam, Buddhism, and Mormonism? I account for the rise of Christianity through what we know about it historically. The missionaries, Paul of Tarsus, the eventual conversion of Constantine. I see no reason why anything supernatural would need to come into play.
3. What powered inflation of the universe?
I do not know, and it would appear that neither do scientists, at least as of my research for this video. However, there do appear to be some ideas about this, such as the hypothetical inflaton field. The idea of these questions, presumably, is that they should give atheists some pause and make us reconsider our position. But if that's the case, this is just a classic God of the Gaps question. We don't know, so what? I'm supposed to assume there's a supernatural force that drove inflation?
4. Why are humans spiritual?
Define spiritual. Seriously, it's a very vague term, but again, there are a variety of very good explanations for this. Really, regardless of whatever you mean by spiritual, it doesn't require a supernatural explanation. If you're asking why people believe in the supernatural, it has to do with oversensitive pattern seeking and a desire for explanations for things we don't know, as well as cultural conditioning. If you're asking why people seek to understand more about themselves and nature through various means that can go under the umbrella of spiritual, it's because people have a desire to understand what their place is, who they are, where they are. It gives us a sense of comfort. There's plenty more to talk about, but unfortunately the term spiritual is so vague that I could practically write an entire book answering this one question and not even touch on what you really intended by it.
5. Where did consciousness come from?
Consciousness originates in the brain. As far as the emergence of consciousness, I imagine it evolved as a collection of various useful traits that would help us survive. Awareness of what's around us, awareness of ourselves and our own feelings. There are plenty of benefits to these things, especially in social animals that have to learn not only to hunt, gather, and farm, but also to work with other people and live in a tribe or a society.
6. How do you explain what some have called our sixth sense?
Another vague question. People have plenty of intuitions that are often based on stimuli they don't notice consciously. This sometimes leads to a sort of spooky feeling about how did I know that when the intuitions are confirmed. When they're not, confirmation bias allows us to forget about those times. Again, there's really no reason to assume anything supernatural at play here.
7. How did the Earth overcome what MIT and Stanford physicists call statistically miraculous odds to have habitable conditions?
I did a quote search for statistically miraculous odds, and I found very little. One of the things I did find was one of your tweets, S.J. Thomason, but nothing from MIT or Stanford. That said, the Earth is just one planet in our massive, massive universe. One source I found gives an estimate of a septillion stars in the universe. Stars tend to have planets, including about 1 trillion or so planets in our galaxy. That at least one of those planets in our galaxy, much less the entire universe, would be able to develop life seems inevitable.
8. Why does humanity cherish humility and honesty over pride and deceit?
Honesty and humility are good for society. We're social animals. Think of it like an iterated prisoner's dilemma. Yeah, if you're only playing one round of prisoner's dilemma with one person, betrayal is logical. But if you're playing over and over and over with the same people on a regular basis, the best strategy is to cooperate. Real life is a lot like this. You're going to interact with the same people over and over, so you'd best build bridges instead of burning them.
9. Why do almost all feel compelled to do what's right by helping neighbors? Why is there a norm of reciprocity?
See my answer to the last question. I'll also include a link in the description to a nifty interactive thing that sort of explains this.
10. What is our greater purpose?
There is no greater purpose. I'm confused about this idea in the first place. Why do you think there is such a thing, and why are people so upset about there not being one? The reality of the situation is that you are here on Earth, alive, for a short amount of time. You, a collection of cells, a collection of molecules, of atoms, get to be arranged in a way that allows you to experience things, to experience life as a human being for this short time. And it upsets you that there's nothing magic about that? It's amazing without the magic. You have the opportunity to experience life and all its ups and downs, to be happy when you can and be content when you can't. You can make what you want of this beautiful existence. You don't need any magic or anything supernatural to make it special for you.
And 11. Why is there evil in the world?
I'm confused as to why you're asking this. Do you think the non-existence of a deity precludes bad things happening? Is this a weird reversal of the problem of evil? Either way, remember that prisoner's dilemma example from earlier? Well, not everyone has the foresight or impulse control to cooperate. Sometimes things get in the way of living a moral life. Shit happens, and we just have to deal with it. So that's those questions answered. Now, since Professor Stick shouted me out, I'm going to take a moment to pay it forward and shout out a few excellent creators. First up is the Godless Iowan. He's a former Pentecostal minister who's now a very active member of our community. Besides his channel, he also has a blog where he lists the top atheist videos of the week, and he's just generally a very fun and great guy. Next is Matt Clark, the Grey Skeptic. He has a really good channel. He does live streams with interviews and also just videos about his thoughts on things. You can tell he's a very reasonable and nice fellow, so his channel is definitely worth a look. I recommend his video about meeting Jesus. Finally, go and subscribe to Secular. He's a Norse god who's just a ton of fun to interact with. And even though he hasn't done much so far with his channel, I'm looking forward to more from him. Anyway, thank you for watching, and thanks again to all you new subscribers. See you in, I don't know, a month?